The Lost Letter. Emma Carter sat at her kitchen table at 2 in the morning, her hands wrapped around a mug of cold tea. The letter lay before her, 3 pages of handwritten confession that she would never, ever send. Dear Lucas. I don't know when it started, maybe the first day you smiled at me in the elevator, or the 100th time you remembered how I take my coffee, or the moment you defended my presentation in front of the entire board. But somewhere along the way, I fell completely, hopelessly in love with you. I know this is impossible. You're the CEO of Thompson Media, and I'm just a marketing manager trying to build a career without anyone questioning how I got here. If anyone knew how I felt, everything I've worked for would be reduced to gossip and speculation. So I write this letter knowing I'll never send it. But I needed to say it, even if only to myself. I love you, Lucas Thompson. I love your brilliance, your kindness, the way you see potential in people others overlook. I love how you make me want to be better, braver, more than I ever thought I could be. I love you, and that's precisely why I can never tell you. Emma. She folded the letter carefully, tucking it into her leather journal. It was therapeutic, her therapist had suggested. Write down feelings you can't express, then move forward. Emma had written many such letters over the past 6 months, each one a secret confession of the impossible love she harbored for her boss. Monday morning arrived too quickly. Emma dressed carefully in a navy blazer and cream blouse, her blonde hair pulled into a professional bun. She checked her reflection, 2 brown eyes looking back at her with determination, her mouth set in a firm line. She could do this. Another week of pretending Lucas Thompson was just her CEO, nothing more. The elevator was crowded when she stepped in on the ground floor of Thompson Media's downtown headquarters. Emma positioned herself in the back corner, her leather bag clutched in her 2 hands, trying to make herself invisible. When Lucas entered on the 3rd floor, her heart performed its usual acrobatics. He was devastating in a charcoal suit, his dark hair slightly tousled, green eyes scanning the elevator occupants until they landed on her. He smiled, that small, private smile that made her knees weak, and Emma managed a professional nod in return. The elevator stopped on the 12th floor, and several people pushed out, jostling Emma's bag. She felt something slip free but was too focused on maintaining her composure to check what it was. The doors closed, and the elevator continued upward. Excuse me, a woman's voice called from behind. Someone dropped this. Emma turned to see a paralegal from legal holding out a folded piece of paper. Her blood turned to ice. She recognized that paper, the journal she'd tucked her letter into must have opened when her bag was jostled. Before Emma could reach for it, Lucas's hand extended, taking the paper with a polite, "Thank you." He glanced down at it casually, and Emma watched in slow-motion horror as recognition flickered across his face. Dear Lucas. The words were visible even from where Emma stood. She saw his eyes widen fractionally, saw him unfold the letter fully, saw the exact moment he began reading her confession. No, Emma whispered, but it was lost in the elevator's ambient noise. Lucas's expression transformed as he read, surprise, wonder, something heated that made Emma's breath catch. His green eyes lifted from the page and found hers across the crowded elevator, holding her captive with an intensity that made her feel naked despite her professional attire. The elevator dinged for the executive floor, her floor. Emma bolted, not caring how it looked, needing to escape before she completely lost her composure. She heard Lucas call her name, but she didn't stop, her 2 legs carrying her quickly down the hallway toward her office. She'd barely closed the door when her desk phone rang. Lucas's private line. Emma stared at it for 3 rings before answering with trembling fingers, all 5 on her right hand gripping the receiver like a lifeline. My office. Now. Lucas's voice was low, controlled, completely unreadable. Mr. Thompson, I can explain. My office, Emma. Please. The please undid her. She hung up, pressed her hands flat against her desk to stop their shaking, and tried to prepare herself for the most humiliating conversation of her professional life. Lucas's corner office overlooked the city, floor-to-ceiling windows providing a panoramic view that Emma normally loved. Today, she barely noticed it as she entered and closed the door behind her. Lucas stood by the windows, the letter held loosely in one hand. He turned when he heard the door, and the expression on his face was impossible to decipher. "Sit down," he said gently. "I'd rather stand." Emma crossed her arms defensively, her two arms wrapped tightly around her midsection. "I know what you're going to say." "That was completely inappropriate. I'll tender my resignation immediately. I never meant for you to see that. It was a private exercise, just therapeutic writing, and I—" "Emma." He interrupted her spiral calmly. "Stop talking and let me speak." She fell silent, her cheeks burning with humiliation. Lucas moved closer, stopping a few feet away. "How long?" "What? How long have you felt this way?" His green eyes searched her face with an intensity that made her want to look away, but she forced herself to hold his gaze. "It doesn't matter. It matters to me." Emma took a shaky breath. 6 months. Maybe longer. I don't know exactly when it started. But I never acted on it, never let it affect my work. I know that. Lucas set the letter down on his desk carefully, as if it were something precious. "Your work has been exemplary. That's not what this conversation is about." "Then what is it about?" Emma felt tears threatening and blinked them back furiously. "Are you trying to make this easier somehow? Because I assure you, there's no easy way to recover from your boss finding a love letter you wrote about him. What if I told you I've been carrying around similar feelings for the past year?" Emma's world tilted. "What?" Lucas moved closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something woody and expensive that she'd committed to memory months ago. "Did you really think I didn't notice you, Emma? That I didn't look for excuses to walk past your office, to include you in meetings you didn't need to attend, to remember ridiculous details about your coffee preferences? That's just you being a good boss," Emma whispered, but her voice lacked conviction. "Is it?" His hand reached up, and Emma found herself frozen as his fingers gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, all 5 digits warm against her skin. "Is it being a good boss when I lie awake at night thinking about you? When I have to physically stop myself from kissing you every time we're alone in an elevator?" Emma's breath caught. "Lucas, we can't." "I know. Believe me, I know all the reasons why this is complicated." His hand dropped, but he didn't step back. "Power dynamics, professional boundaries, what people would say about you. I've gone over every reason 1,000 times, trying to convince myself to ignore these feelings. And yet here we are," Emma said softly. "Here we are." Lucas's eyes held hers. "With your feelings written down in black and white, and mine finally spoken aloud. What do we do now?" Emma stepped back, putting necessary distance between them. "We do nothing. We pretend this conversation never happened, and I transfer to a different department. Is that really what you want?" Lucas asked, his voice rough with emotion. "What I want doesn't matter. What I want is impossible." Emma gestured between them. "You're the CEO. I'm a mid-level manager. Any relationship between us would destroy my credibility. Everything I've accomplished would be questioned and dismissed. Not by me. Not by anyone who actually knows you. You're being naive." Emma's frustration bubbled over. "I've worked in corporate America long enough to know exactly what happens to women who date their bosses. We become jokes, cautionary tales, proof that women can't succeed on merit alone." Lucas was quiet for a moment, his jaw tight. "So you'd rather live with regret than take a risk on something that could be extraordinary?" "I'd rather protect what I've built." Emma moved toward the door. "I'm requesting a transfer to the West Coast office." It's better for both of us if there's distance. Emma, wait. But she was already gone, leaving Lucas standing alone with her letter still on his desk. The next 2 weeks were torture. Emma threw herself into preparing for the transfer, avoiding Lucas whenever possible. But the tension between them was palpable in meetings, crackling in the air whenever they were forced to interact. Then came the moment that changed everything. Emma was working late, alone in her office, when Lucas appeared in the doorway. He looked disheveled, his tie loosened, exhaustion and desperation written across his handsome features. "I can't do this anymore," he said without preamble. Emma's heart raced. "Lucas, we agreed." "You agreed." "I never agreed to anything." He crossed the room in 3 strides, his hands cupping her face with urgent tenderness. "Tell me you don't feel this. Tell me you don't want me as much as I want you, and I'll let you go." Emma's resistance crumbled. "I can't tell you that." "Then don't." His thumb traced her lower lip, and Emma's eyes fluttered closed. "Don't run from this, Emma. Don't run from us." When he kissed her, it was everything she'd imagined and more, desperate and tender, passionate and reverent. Emma's hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, 6 months of denied desire finally finding expression. They broke apart, both breathing hard, foreheads pressed together. "Come home with me," Lucas whispered. "Just for tonight. Let's have this one night before you leave." Emma knew she should say no. Knew this would only make leaving harder. But she was tired of being strong, tired of denying herself the one thing she wanted most. "Yes," she breathed. Lucas's penthouse was elegant and masculine, but Emma barely noticed the decor. The moment the door closed behind them, they were in each other's arms again, hands exploring, lips urgent. They made love slowly, reverently, as if memorizing each other. Lucas's hands worshipped every inch of her skin, and Emma let herself be vulnerable in ways she'd never allowed before. Afterward, wrapped in his arms, she felt simultaneously complete and terrified. "Stay," Lucas murmured against her hair as dawn broke through the windows. "Don't transfer. Stay and we'll figure this out together." But morning brought reality crashing back. Emma slipped out of bed while Lucas slept, leaving only a note, "I'm sorry. This doesn't change anything." Emma transferred to the Los Angeles office 2 weeks later. She threw herself into work, trying to forget the feel of Lucas's hands on her skin, the taste of his kisses, the way he'd whispered her name like a prayer. 3 months passed. Emma convinced herself she'd made the right choice, that time and distance would heal the ache in her chest. Then Thompson Media announced its annual gala in New York. All senior staff were required to attend. Emma considered resigning rather than face Lucas again. But that would be admitting defeat, letting fear control her life. So she boarded the plane to New York, telling herself she could handle one evening of professionalism. She was wrong. Lucas found her within minutes of arriving at the Plaza Hotel ballroom. He looked devastating in a tuxedo, his green eyes finding hers across the crowded room with laser focus. "Dance with me," he said when he reached her, not asking but not demanding either. "Lucas, I don't think. One dance. That's all I'm asking." Against her better judgment, Emma let him lead her to the dance floor. The moment his arms wrapped around her, she knew she'd made a terrible mistake. Being close to him again felt like coming home. "I've missed you," Lucas said quietly, his breath warm against her ear. "Every single day." "Don't," Emma whispered, but her body betrayed her, pressing closer to his. "Tell me you haven't missed me. Tell me you haven't thought about that night." Emma couldn't. Because she had thought about it constantly, lying awake remembering every touch, every kiss, every whispered word. The song ended but Lucas didn't release her. Instead, he led her off the dance floor, through a side door, into a private terrace overlooking Central Park. "We can't keep doing this," Emma said, but even she could hear how weak the protest sounded. Then tell me to leave. Tell me you don't love me anymore. I never said I loved you. Your letter did. Your eyes do every time you look at me. Lucas stepped closer, his hands framing her face. I love you, Emma Carter. I've loved you for over a year, and 3 months of distance hasn't changed that. This is impossible. Nothing is impossible if we want it badly enough. When he kissed her this time, Emma didn't pull away. She kissed him back with all the longing and frustration of 3 months apart, her hands in his hair, her body pressed against his. They left the gala without saying goodbye to anyone, returning to Lucas's penthouse where they made love with desperate intensity. Emma told herself it was just one more night, just getting him out of her system. But morning came with harsh reality and Emma's phone buzzing with a text from her assistant, rumors spreading about you and Lucas at the gala. HR wants to see you. The HR investigation was professional but humiliating. Emma sat across from 2 stern-faced representatives while they asked invasive questions about her relationship with Lucas. We've received an anonymous complaint alleging favoritism, the older woman said, her eyes sympathetic but firm. Specifically regarding your recent promotion and salary increases. I earned every one of those on merit, Emma said, her voice tight with anger and hurt. We're not questioning your capabilities, Ms. Carter. But we need to investigate any potential conflicts of interest. For 2 weeks, Emma's work was scrutinized, her projects reviewed, her performance evaluated with microscopic intensity. Colleagues whispered. Some offered support, but others looked at her with barely concealed judgment. Lucas tried to help, issuing a company-wide memo about Emma's exemplary work record. It only made things worse, appearing to prove the rumors of favoritism. Emma sat in Lucas's office after hours, exhausted and defeated. I told you this would happen. I told you my reputation would be destroyed. This is temporary, Lucas insisted. Once the investigation is complete, everyone will see your work speaks for itself. You don't understand. Emma's voice broke. It doesn't matter what the investigation finds. I'll always be the woman who slept with the CEO. Every achievement, every success, it'll all be tainted by speculation. Then we fight it. Together. There is no together, Lucas. There can't be. Emma stood, her decision made. I'm resigning. It's the only way to end this. Lucas's face went pale. No. Absolutely not. You're not sacrificing your career because of narrow-minded gossip. I'm sacrificing my sanity. I can't work here anymore, not with everyone watching, judging, whispering. Emma pulled an envelope from her bag, her formal resignation letter. I've already accepted a position at Meridian Group. I start in 2 weeks. Emma, please. This is goodbye, Lucas. Really goodbye this time. She placed the letter on his desk. Thank you for everything. I mean that. But we both need to move on. She walked out before he could respond, before she could see the devastation on his face, before she could change her mind. Emma's last day at Thompson Media arrived too quickly. She packed her office in silence, ignoring the curious stares and whispered conversations. The HR investigation had cleared her of any wrongdoing, but the damage to her reputation felt irreparable. She was carrying her last box to her car when her phone rang. Lucas's assistant. Ms. Carter, Mr. Thompson has called an emergency all-staff meeting. Your presence is requested. I don't work here anymore. Please, Ms. Carter. It's important. Against her better judgment, Emma returned to the building. The main conference hall was packed with employees from every department. She slipped in the back, her heart pounding. Lucas stood at the podium, looking tired but determined. When he began speaking, the room fell silent. I've called you all here to make an announcement, he said, his green eyes scanning the crowd until they found Emma's. Effective immediately, I'm stepping down as CEO of Thompson Media." Gasps filled the room. Emma felt the blood drain from her face. "I'll be transitioning to an advisory role on the board," Lucas continued. "My decision has nothing to do with company performance. Thompson Media is thriving. Rather, it's a personal choice based on what I value most in life." He clicked a remote, and Emma's face appeared on the screen behind him, a professional headshot from the company directory. "Many of you know Emma Carter, who until today was our marketing director. What you may not know is that Emma is the most brilliant, dedicated, ethical professional I've ever worked with. She's also the woman I'm in love with." Emma's hand flew to her mouth, tears springing to her eyes. "For months, Emma and I struggled with our feelings for each other because of the inherent power imbalance of our positions. She was right to be concerned. Workplace relationships involving supervisors and subordinates are complicated and problematic. So I'm removing that obstacle." Lucas stepped away from the podium, walking down the center aisle toward where Emma stood frozen. "I'm choosing love over power, Emma over my title, our future over my ego." He stopped in front of her, his eyes vulnerable and honest. "I can't promise this will be easy. But I can promise I'll spend every day proving that what we have is real and worth fighting for." He dropped to one knee, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. The entire room gasped. "Emma Carter, will you marry me? Not as my employee, not as someone beneath me in any hierarchy, but as my equal, my partner, the love of my life?" Emma looked at the man kneeling before her, at the room full of colleagues watching with rapt attention, at the future stretching out before them, complicated and uncertain but full of possibility. "You're insane," she whispered, laughing through her tears. "You just resigned from the job you love." "I love you more." Lucas's voice was steady. "Jobs are replaceable. You're not." Emma reached down, pulling him to his feet. "Yes," she said clearly, loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Yes, I'll marry you." The room erupted in applause as Lucas slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her deeply, no longer caring who saw or what anyone thought. Emma stood in her corner office at Meridian Group, where she'd risen to vice president of marketing through undeniable talent and hard work. Through the window, she could see Thompson Media's building across the city, where Lucas now served as a board advisor and venture capital consultant. Her phone buzzed with a text from her husband, "Dinner at 7? I'm cooking." Emma smiled, twisting the wedding band on her finger. They'd married 6 months ago in a small ceremony surrounded by people who genuinely supported them. The scandal had eventually faded. Emma's success at Meridian proved her abilities were never dependent on Lucas's position. And Lucas had discovered he was happier advising startups than running a corporation. Sometimes, Emma reflected, the bravest thing you could do was choose love when logic said to run. Sometimes the best career move was the one that had nothing to do with your career at all. Her phone buzzed again. "P.S. I love you. Still the best decision I ever made." Emma typed back, "Stepping down as CEO or marrying me?" "Both. But mostly marrying you." She gathered her things, heading home to the man who'd loved her enough to give up.